Happy Monday and welcome back to Locked On Red Sox podcast. Thank you so much for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen every single day. I'm your host, Massachusetts Pirates team insider Jake Ignazuski. I'll also be joined by my co-host, NESN writer Lauren Campbell. And Lauren and I had the opportunity to speak with on-air host Emerson Lotzia. Emerson was also the former co-host of NESN's After Hours. But in this part, we talked about what it was like for Emerson reporting on the Red Sox during the awful 2020 season, as well as his thoughts on what the Red Sox will do after the lockout and where he thinks the Red Sox need to improve for the 2022 season. So let's listen to part one with our conversation with Emerson Lotzia.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We are here with on-air host, anchor, and reporter at DraftKings, Emerson Lotzia. So how we doing, Emerson?
What's up, guys? It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for lowering your standards and having me on your incredible podcast. Good to see you, Jay. Good to see you, Lauren.
You are the bar. You have set the bar, Emerson.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. That's right, Carabas. You hear that? I'm the bar, potato chip.
Exactly, and for people who don't recognize Emerson, he was a co-host on NESN's After Hours, and that's actually how you and I got connected. I remember I watched you on there, and you've kind of been a role model of mine in terms of putting your personality all out there. And you see those reporters that just have the microphone in their hand and just read off the script or read off the teleprompter. But I always loved how you would put your full energy and full personality into everything.
Yeah, man, that's the one thing I took a lot of pride in, like when I was with NESN for like the 6 years, and they were pretty cool with me too, kind of just being myself, especially like when After Hours launched. They were like, just go out there and like have fun, and it was really good to it felt good to be where they would allow me to be myself, goofy, just like weird. Like some people don't get it, like some people don't like it, but like what you see on television is what you're going to see if you bump into me like in the Boston Common or just walking around like downtown Boston. Like that's just me, man. I've got a weird personality and like sense of humor. It can be a little sick at times and way too much energy as well.
I can confirm that the Emerson on TV is the Emerson in real life. Like every day, like if you are ever in a bad mood, no one knew. But if I was in a bad mood and you came in, bad mood's gone. Like you just brought the energy. You were so charismatic, and it's like every office needs an Emerson because they need that energy, that uplift, and that positivity. Because it's like going to be a damn good night when Emerson's here.
I loved it. Seriously. Even like some of those nights we were there till like 2, 3 a.m. because I don't know, West Coast Red Sox game that went to extra innings or something. Like in the end, like we're talking sports, we're having a hell of a lot of fun, minus like being there until 2 or 3 a.m. at times. And like, sunrise. I don't know, like everyone there was cool as hell. Like I loved like working with like you and the whole .com squad and your fiance, like producing and all the other hosts and anchors. Like it was a great group to be a part of.
It was fun.
I loved the video as well. You actually replied to my tweet about it. It was with you with the long hair with the sword, and that's just like
Lord Lotzia, dude. Lord Lotzia. That was Game of Thrones day, and Mike Eamon and I like went out there, and I was like, all right, we got to do this right. Let me just dress up as like Jon Snow, or we'll call it Lord Lotzia, and just see what happens with it. It turned out like to be like pretty successful, and our bosses really liked it. And we did other like MOS too with Scotty Smalls from the Sandlot, and we walked around one day off of like Mass Ave, where he was doing this appearance at a shoe store, and we were asking people trivia of the Sandlot, and nobody knew who the hell he was, and it was completely playing out differently than I had in my mind, but it ended up being fantastic and hilarious, and he rolled with the punches. Like, you know who this guy is? Have you ever seen the Sandlot? They're like, no, I've never seen the Sandlot. I'm like, all right, we'll talk to you later.
Oh no.
Yeah, it was good stuff. I know. It was it was a rough day there.
Shame.
I know.
But working on After Hours, I mean, After Hours started in 2020, and it couldn't have really started in a worse Red Sox season.
Yeah, well, hell, it couldn't have started at like a worse time, really,
True.
because like we launched it and it was very successful. Like year to year, ratings were up, and the most impressive part of it was like a lot of the times we didn't have a lead in. Like a lot of those late night shows, no matter what network you're on, relies a lot on a lead in, and so like we would rely a lot on like Red Sox games or Bruins games coming before us. But some nights when there's just reruns of, I don't know, Red Sox and 2 or whatever, not a whole lot of people may be tuning into it, but then you see, okay, once 10 o'clock hits, the ratings ticked up. Like people were pursuing and finding NESN on their television at 10 o'clock to watch us, which is really cool. And that means a lot because it means obviously the viewers are enjoying what they're seeing. But pandemic kind of screwed things up. We were for a while, was like around the world, and trying to get back into it, doing at-home shows. It was a grind, man. It had a really good run. But everything comes to an end. It is what it is.
All good things come to an end.
Thank you.
It was fun watching that show get launched too, just kind of seeing behind the scenes and how, especially dealing with COVID and how it was still able to like be produced from home, and then half at home, half in the studio. My 300 square foot apartment turned into a studio from like 9 to 5 and then like 6 to 8. It was just insane. Just what I saw could be done simply from home on a little ThinkPad laptop.
Yeah, exactly. And it's what I said, like when I left that place, I said, what was so cool in the 6 years there, like you see a couple of us like on TV, but it's like the badass crew, like behind the scenes, that actually keeps that place afloat. It's the people who aren't getting love, who deserve and should be receiving all the love, is the reason that NESN like remains on air. And you know what? My wife, Lauren, feels exactly the way like you feel. Like she was working from home too, because she's in the TV business over at BZ, and she's trying to produce her 6 o'clock show here. Yet I'm sitting here either trying to record stuff for NESN or like blabbing on some sports betting show for DraftKings. It's just, and we're also in a very tiny apartment.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. You find a way to make it work because you just love one another, right?
Yeah. Our solution was to buy a 1,300 square foot home. So that's what we did to get out of that mess. Cause I was like, I'm going to throw you off this 3rd floor apartment. I don't know what else to do.
Yeah. I turned like our bedroom essentially into like a second, like where I would do most of my shows, like my studio, because like working at the same dining room table, just that wasn't going to end well if it continued.
Yeah.
How tough was that with your dogs too?
Yeah, they loved it. Actually, they became pretty famous, like on a lot of our shows for DraftKings. Like they'd pop in and out, and like the YouTube crowd, which we ended up calling like the DK Sim fam. They ended up like loving it, like from Rufus, and then we ended up getting like Winnie, and then now like Georgie's part of the show. Most of their followers on Instagram, the Sassy Springers, everybody. Most of them are all of our fans over at DraftKings, and even on NESN, they've cracked the show multiple times.
We love the Sassy Springers. They are the best part. Their Instagram's great. They're so fun. They're always on fun adventures, those two.
Yeah, they really are. We take them everywhere because we can't find anybody to watch them.
If we didn't have a mean dog, you could just drop them off here. But she loves dogs in a public setting, but not in her house. This is her house.
Yeah, of course. It's her kingdom.
Yeah.
I get it. No, a couple of our friends have brought dogs over here before. And like, Winnie at first is like, all right, you son of a bitch. Like, what are you doing? Like here in my house.
Yep. Oh dear. Know that all too well.
What have you guys been doing? Because there's no Red Sox right now. And this is a Locked On Red Sox podcast. Like, how the hell have you been talking about the Red Sox when there hasn't been anything to talk about?
Thankfully, Jake has been crushing it, getting guests. We have Hall of Fame stuff, which has been nice that we can just kind of drag that out until next Tuesday, until they announce it, when then we'll have nothing left after that. And just keep grinding, finding like maybe stuff to look back on, finding different like Red Sox, like on this day in history. Just got to get creative, and we're content creators, so it's we're grinding, we're trying, and we're just praying that the Red Sox, what is it, 30-ish? Nope, 26 days. They'll be heading to Florida. Just got to try to manifest that, because that's what I want right now.
Yeah, you got to put it out there. You got to put the positive energy out there. It's the only thing you can do.
Yeah.
Because you have no control. So it's like,
right.
Are you going to sit there and it's like with anything in life, you're going to sit there and be like disgruntled and get pissed off and whine about it? Or, I'm myself trying to be a little more positive at times. Thank God for therapists.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Yes. We love our therapists in 2022.
Shout out, big guy.
I hope you are enjoying our conversation with Emerson Lotzia, but Lauren just wants to take a second to talk to you about Built Bar.
You know me by now. You know how much I love Built Bar. And we are in the new year, so that means you have New Year's resolutions probably. And if yours is about getting fit, maybe eating a little bit healthier, make sure you include Built Bar in your plan. Built Bar is the protein bar that tastes just like a candy bar, and honestly, maybe even better than one. Built Bar makes it easy to stick to your resolution because they taste so good, you will want to eat it. It's not like those other protein bars that can be chalky, waxy, maybe taste kind of like a cardboard. Not Built Bar. And I understand that you want to eat healthy, but it can get so boring. By like week 3, I'm thinking, this just is not worth it. Where's the chocolate? Enter Built Bar, which are covered in 100% real chocolate. And here's an idea for the new year, and I've started to do this. Head on over to all of your secret treat stashes at home, in the pantry. Maybe you have a snack drawer at your desk in your office, wherever. Throw out all the sugary stuff and replace them with Built Bars. So when you're craving a snack or a little treat, you can reach for something that's healthy and tastes incredible. And there's so many flavors to choose from. There's literally something for everyone. Coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, my personal favorite, cookies and cream. Check out built.com often to see what's new, because they always have limited time flavors. And we have an offer for you. Head on over to built.com, enter promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. That's LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com.
I don't know, man. I hope there is baseball, Jake. I really do.
Me too. I mean, because we record 3 episodes a week. And when I first came on this podcast, it was at the start of December. I said to Lauren, I don't know how we're gonna, post 5 episodes a week when like there's only so much to talk about. And what's nice is that like the first week, it was the Red Sox expressed interest in Trevor's story, so we talked about that for like a whole week, and then there was just a minor league signing for Taylor Cole, and like all of Red Sox Twitter came out through the ground. They're like, oh my God, the Red Sox actually did something. But something that we've really tried to sort of make this podcast into is, Section 10 is, the most entertaining, popular Red Sox podcast, but we're trying to make Locked On Red Sox the most engaging Red Sox podcast that there is out there, fan engaging. So we try to like get the fans involved, and get the audience involved, and just make things a little bit more, like you said, exciting, positive during this lockout and weird time.
I mean, dude, just be yourselves, man. Just be yourself. Like Lala Lauren is always like embraced herself. And I know you're young and you're just cracking the industry right now. And I mean, look at you already. You're already on like a really great like podcast here, like talking one of the best baseball teams in the history of the stinking sport, man. I do love Alex Cora with a beard. Like the off season's off to a hot start.
Hey, the real question is Get Beard going to come back, or?
I don't know. I have no idea, dude. I just need him to keep it. I need him to keep the beard.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, he looks like rugged, like a good, like handsome, rugged. My mom loves it. My mom thinks he's very handsome. So
what about your grandma? That's what I want to know, because I always love like when you post like your conversations with your grandma, because I'm like, oh, that's so kick ass. Like I wish like my grannies were still like kicking, and up like and enjoying the world here, not 6 feet under. So that's cool. Your grandma loves like baseball, Red Sox.
Yeah, she hasn't seen Alex Cora with the beard yet. I didn't get to talk to her today. She'd already gone to bed when I called my mom at like 7. So she's got to get that 8 hours, or she's got to get it early. So I think she's going to like it, because her thing with John Farrell when he was manager, she loved when he didn't wear his baseball hat. She'd be like, he needs to take that cap off. That is a handsome man. And I was like, yo, chill. Like, that was a married man.
What'd you think about Ron Renicky?
Oh, she was like, yeah, whatever. Like, I think she knew. Well, I think she knew too. He was also like not going to be around after the 2020 season. So she was like, I guess I'll just look at him for 60 games. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, there was going to be a season you had Ron Renick as your manager. Like, you did what you could. They're like, we just need to put someone out there.
I mean, how tough was that?
That was brutal.
It was an ugly, slow season, and I felt like, for me anyway, it felt like it was well over 162 games. I don't know if it felt like that for you, and especially like going on TV and trying to be so like optimistic about this team. How difficult was that in 2020 to try to do that through 60 of the slowest games of our lives?
Like you had to keep reminding yourself, like when I worked there, like we're owned by the Red Sox. So it's like you can't go in hard on them. I don't think that's like a super secret to anyone out there. You know, it's a media arm. It's like the Red Sox like television station, like essentially with a little bit of Bruins in there as well because of their part ownership of it. But like, yeah, I don't know. You can't really polish like a turd, right? It's that season was extremely difficult, but the numbers, like all you had to do was bring numbers to the table. Right. Like you'd say, all right, this is not good. And okay. Like, so you criticize them where they deserved the criticism, which was in a lot of areas, but that's what I think made last season like so awesome because it was so unexpected. It just the overachievement there in 2021 was awesome, like especially before the All-Star break. Do you remember like that offense and like the comeback kids and they were just never out of a game.
Never.
And it was unbelievable. And like the electric atmosphere in Fenway like returned once like late May too, once everyone was like back inside, like packing that stadium in the summer. Like, I don't know, like so they were one of the final four teams standing in Major League Baseball. I know a lot of people around here have such high expectations for this team and are so highly critical of the team. But like big picture, like, man, sometimes I wish we would enjoy it a little more and just be like, okay, obviously there's some pieces like missing. This team could be so much better, yada, yada, yada. But it was magical at times because that team was not supposed to do what it did last year.
Not at all. I mean, what's funny, I actually remember making a video at the All-Star break, like kind of like laughing in Doubters' faces and being like, you know, we were supposed to be a fourth place team in the AFC East, right?
Yeah.
Like, but we have the best record in baseball, or at least I think it was the best record in the AL, and going into the All-Star break, and you know, I had to do the little New England, you hate us because you ain't us. And then I had some friends who were like, you realize that they're going to dip a little after the All-Star break. And I'm like, there's no way. This team is steamrolling right through. And then August happened, and then COVID happened. And then, you know, you just had to kind of muscle up the confidence.
Yeah. I mean, it sucked because, you know, the offense like slowed down a little bit, and you saw him carry him like early portions of the playoffs too. It was like the offense, and it kind of just like slowed up a little bit once you like hit the Astros there in the ALCS. But you know, it didn't help that, was it Barnes and like Ottavino? They were disasters in the second half of the season. It was like right after they gave Barnes like the contract and the money too. So that sucked, but at the same time, I have to remind myself again, like Chaim Bloom had some really strong, like under the radar, like moves pre-2021, also during the regular season that helped you get to like where you ended up being, despite some cracks in your infrastructure there, like up and down on the roster, right? And now the question is, what do you think is the biggest need? It's got to be the arms. It's got to be the bullpen. Like, right? Like Lauren, what do you think?
It's 100% the bullpen, because even if you realign, like say you put Garrett Whitlock as your closer or you put him in the rotation, you're still taking him out of a spot that they need. And I'm sorry, like no offense to Ryan Brazier. I know my grandma loves him, but he's just not the answer to being a setup guy or to being like a high leverage guy. And pretty soon they stopped using some of their pitchers in high leverage situations. And I'm just like, why? It made me think of Drew Pomeranz all alone in the bullpen in 2018. Like they just would not go to him no matter what in the World Series. And I was like,
PTSD.
Yes, that's exactly like what it was like, where I'm like, why are you just letting these guys waste away in the bullpen? Go get somebody and not Hanzo Robles, for the love of God. I never want to see that man pitch in a Red Sox uniform again.
I wish I brought that up to Jared, because I remember Jared was trying to convince everybody on Section 10, Hanzo Robles is this incredible pitcher. And there's sometimes with Carabas, I don't know if he's serious or I don't know if he's joking. But then
I think he's putting it out there in the universe, like we were talking about moments ago. You know?
Right.
Exactly. But I mean, you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. In the playoffs, I forget what it was. I think he had like 18 scoreless innings or something like that. He pitched really well in the playoffs. But I mean, especially like you mentioned, like at the trade deadline. I mean, we're going to trade Michael Chavis for Austin Davis? I remember seeing that trade. Yep. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? We hope you guys are enjoying our conversation with Emerson Lotzia so far, but I just want to take a second to talk to you about RockAuto. With the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless and seemingly intimidating questioning, like, is your Odyssey an LX or an EX? Like, who knows that? And wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand that their warehouse happens to carry. You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket as well. So definitely check out RockAuto, because you save time and money. Why choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Like, for example, for a Honda Odyssey fuel pump, it's $353 from the chain store, but from RockAuto, it's $216. Another reason I would choose RockAuto is it's a family business serving do-it-yourself services for over 20 years. And also, their prices are reliably low for every single customer. So go explore the easy-to-use website today to find the solution for your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, and all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
Like, because you have like some long-term offensive pieces like in place, right? Because you've got I think they need to sign they definitely need to sign Devers to a contract extension, like hopefully soon. I know he's under team control in the next 2 years, so that Boston doesn't have to do anything. Maybe they will if they ever get back to it. And then I think Verdugo's a long-term piece, right? Xander, you would hope it's going to be like a long-term piece.
Hope so.
I think he can opt out after next season.
He already said that he's going to.
Okay. And all right, I think a lot for the Red Sox, and it's going to depend, does he want to stay at shortstop where, you know, slowly the defensive side of him will start like declining a little more. So maybe if he's willing to move to another position, he could retire like a Red Sox, which we've seen some, you know, former Hall of Famers like before him make position moves as well.
Right.
But yeah, it's got to be getting an arm, got to be getting like a reliever. But also, guys, you've seen the way that they've approached that ninth inning over the past like few years. So I don't know. Do they focus just on like one name? I think those days may be gone, especially with Chaim Bloom like in control.
I think with Barnes's contract extension that they're not just going to give up on him completely as a closer. No. Like you gave him the money, you're going to have to figure it out. Maybe he was hurt in the second half. Maybe he's just like not mentally right for whatever reason. He's got maybe an extended offseason to figure it out, where it's like you can't just give up on him because he had a bad second half, even though part of me was like, I don't ever want to see him on this team again. But I was like, we all have bad days, bad weeks. I don't pitch for a living, and there's probably a reason for that. So
Emerson, in terms of Barnes, in terms of Barnes, I just want to say some numbers that I don't know. I at least when I first saw him, I didn't realize this. He pitched 38 games prior to the All-Star break, 38. And then post All-Star break, I mean, he only pitched 22 games with a 6.48 ERA. But like Dave Bush, the pitching coach, correlated his awful second half to that workload. I mean, 38 games, That's crazy.
Yeah. And he was really good. And we're like, wow, who is this guy? And like, it's sick because everyone's thinking, dude, we got our closer. This is rock solid. Then the contract signed, he gets some money, kind of falls off the rails a little bit. And like, even some of those late game situations, like postseason wise too, he was giving me like major Craig Kimbrell, like heart attacks.
Yes.
And then look what Craig Kimbrell happened to him with the White Sox, right? Like the White Sox, I think they're trying to move that guy. Like he collapsed also. There's just those guys that give you that heart attack. I don't know. Do you go out and you try to get like a Kenley Jansen, who's easily the biggest relieving arm, like left on the board? Who else? Colin McHugh, former Astro.
We've heard Jem McCaffrey is a big fan of Ian Kennedy, the former Royal. But I'm not a huge fan at all of the closer by committee. I just hate that crap. I remember they did that in 2019. They also did in 2020 as well. But I mean, I'm just so used to those Papelbon days, when shipping off to Boston happens and that the ninth inning, that's over. But like you said, I agree with you. I think with Chaim Bloom, he loves the versatility. So if he's able to have like 2 or 3 guys that he can rely on in different situations, I think he will do that. But it's just not what I'm used to, I guess.
Yeah, like should we expect like another stroke of genius out of him when baseball returns? Because the arms are obviously a glaring need, as we've just talked about, but you got to do something. Because to me it's been a little uninspiring. Like I love JBJ's back, man. I really do. Everyone loves him as a human being. Everybody loves his defense. Like him back out there holding it down in center field. Like there's no better guy on planet Earth to be playing at center field like than him. But he's also bringing $10 million. Like you're going to be paying for him. And he hit what, like 163 or something, like in his lone season in Milwaukee. It was awful. Like, I mean, at least Hunter Renfroe, like we loved him as well because some big moments at the plate and the guy hunts for frogs. But man, those were some bad decision making like out there. So he's gone. And it's just like, who else did they sign? They signed? Oh, he spent $10 million. He spent $10 million on James Paxton, who may not pitch. Like
who may not even pitch. Yeah.
Right. Tommy John surgery. And then you spent. Yeah. So he's probably going to be in the rotation, right, Jake? And then $5 million.
I feel like he's borderline in the rotation. And what pissed me off so much is that we're spending money. You said $10 million on Paxton, $7 million on Waka. I think it was
5 on 41-year-old pitcher Rich Hill.
Five on
Rich Hill.
Yeah.
But like, so you're spending $22 million on 3 pitchers, and you can't muscle up $2 more million for Marcus Stroman, who got 3 years. I forget exactly the numbers, but he's getting paid for the first 2 years, $25 million. I feel like Chris Sale, Nathan Eovaldi, and Marcus Stroman, that's a World Series rotation to me.
Okay. I forgot about the whole Sale coming back like thing for his first full season since Tommy John. All right, so he had his moments, right? At the end of last year. But I feel like all of them were against the Orioles.
Yes.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And then he played some stiff competition. There were a couple of those times, right? I don't think he got out of like an inning or 2.
Yeah, it was bad. I hope you are enjoying our conversation so far with Emerson Lotzia, but I just want to take a second to talk to you about BetOnline. BetOnline would like to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue our march to the playoffs and beyond. BetOnline remains the #1 spot for all the best sports wagering action for 2022. New year and a new updated desktop and mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code LOCKEDON to get started. From football, basketball, hockey, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for 2022. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to wager all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Man.
You mentioned a lot of like what's going to happen in the outfield. So what is Emerson Lotzia's perfect Red Sox outfield for 2022, given what they have now?
I think you got you got JBJ in center. You got Verdugo right and left.
Mm-hmm.
That's
the only position that he can play. Unfortunately,
it is. But then right is where it becomes tricky now.
Right.
Because
are you going to re-sign Schwarber?
No, I don't know if you do, because JD has opted in, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I don't know where do you're not rotating. Schwarber's got to be better at first base if you're going to be paying him some cash. And there's going to be demand for him out there. There's some teams out there that could definitely use like that bat. The Rockies really are interested in him. Imagine him out there in the Mile High just hitting like piss missiles like every week. I don't want JD out there. Yeah, that's why you just got to put him at first or something. I don't know. And there's Enrique.
Yeah.
But I think they want him more consistently at like second base.
Right. That's what they signed him for.
Yeah.
He just happened to be good in center field.
Who's the Suzuki guy? I don't know who that is. Is that someone, obviously someone over across the pond and
in Japan?
Yeah.
Let me hold on.
I don't know who that is.
So I got his stats right here. He led Japan last season in batting average, WAR, weighted runs created plus, and he was third in home runs. He's a 27-year-old right now, over 9 seasons in Japan, won 4 Gold Gloves, plays right field, has insane speed, and has a plus arm, and he's predicted to make 5 years, $55 million. But now it's reported that 10 to 12 teams are interested in him. So it was reported, though, that the Red Sox are the most aggressive, but that was 2 months ago. So
they're always the most aggressive.
They are, but then it's also at the same time, Lauren, like it's always a huge question mark. How is a guy's game going to translate to the major league, like baseball level? Like there's been someone come over here and who have struggled, but this could definitely be like an area, the outfield. This could definitely be an area of this baseball team that you could see them make a splash maybe when the lockout is lifted. And then I've seen written as well, like is the NL going to add a DH? Because
up in the air.
Because
if they do, Schwarber's suitors like opens wide up. 15 other teams.
And does JD have a no trade clause? Like let's not rule out them saying, okay, do you ship off like JD to an NL team?
So that's something that Jen McCaffrey said. I thought it was a great idea. She mentioned it, and I hadn't even thought about it. I think
she knows a hell of a lot more about baseball than I do, so it feels good to know that we're on the same page about something. I know there's just so much that could happen depending on what happens with this agreement that the sides will eventually come to hopefully sooner.
Cotillo, we had him on last week, and he was talking about how the Red Sox could go for Nicholas Castellanos as well as Chris Bryant. And once he said Chris Bryant, I'm like, Chris, you are making all these scenarios in my head like swirl around. Like, are we going to put Chris Bryant at third base? Devers goes to DH. We trade JD. And where is Chris Bryant going to play in the outfield? Because you can't move Verdugo. There's no way you're putting Chris Bryant in center field or right field at Fenway Park. So what are you doing?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's you hope Bloom. There's plenty of moves. There will be plenty of moves to be made coming out of the lockout, and you would hope that Bloom. He's not. I don't think they're going to drop like a boatload of cash, but you hope he brings a few dudes in. Once again, can hold you over for like I guess a year or two because they've got some great prospects. I just don't know if any of them are ready for like full MLB seasons.
I hope you did enjoy part 1 of our conversation with Emerson Lotzia. And thank you so much for listening up to this point and for making Locked On Red Sox your first listen every single day. Now make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms. If you like part 1, you're definitely going to like part 2 because we talked about the impact that Alex Cora has on the Red Sox, and he explains why he thinks Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Now, make sure you follow Locked On Red Sox as well on Twitter LO_Red Sox, because we post every single day Red Sox content, as well as we try to get you guys involved in every single episode that we record. Our goal is to be the most engaging Red Sox podcast that there is out there. So make sure to go over there and give us a follow. Also follow myself on Twitter. It's at Jake Iggy, as well as follow my co-host Lauren Campbell on Twitter. It's that's 3 laws, Lauren with 4 R's. Now, we really appreciate everybody tuning into this episode of Locked On Red Sox. Like I said, make sure to tune into part 2 of our conversation with Emerson Lotzia, because it's definitely a good one. I hope you have a great rest of your day.